Arizona Cardinals top pick Walter Nolen III finally hits the grass, full participant at Cardinals OTAs. How did the 16th overall pick look? Plus, what his teammates look like as well. We take roll as far as Cardinals voluntary OTAs, Johnny V.
Yeah, it's not voluntary this year. The Cardinals need to step it up with their passing game. We hear from Pro Bowl tight end Trey McBride. Do we have a hint, a glimmer of offensive evolution with the Redbirds? PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast for premier #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. That's Brack and Noah, new producer extraordinaire behind the mic today. Noah was a busybody with my co-host. They were at OTAs for a fresh week of Cardinal practice featuring the 16th overall pick and the 47th overall pick. Bo, I can't wait to dive into it all.
Oh, I agree, man. What a special open. Special. That's what people are saying about that one. What's going on Jacob Tackett. How about MK? Got a Mr. Fat Gangster, Ken Weber, Sag, Johnny's Chocolate Covered Peanuts. Oh, my goodness. T Clearly. How about Mr. Fat Gangster ZT, Ken Weber? I said twice. A guy so nice, I named him twice. The entire squad is here, over 100 watching early on and rising to really talk some ball. It's PHNX Cardinals. Like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube.
We're fired up here on a football Tuesday, and Bo and I were talking pre-show and content. We could be slumming it in a couple weeks. Yeah. And Bo's like, should we hold some stuff today? And then we had a conversation where we're like, no, we're talking about it all. We're doing it all. F it. We'll do it live, and we're doing it all today on a football OTAs Tuesday because there's a lot of good stuff to dive into. Cardinals are on the field for the first time, for the last time until training camp. And today felt like the day. And I can draw all my conclusions from a embedded image from my dear friend Wulbrecht, who took it with his phone. Will Johnson going through position drills. That's right. I have seen enough. I've seen enough. Will Johnson will start. Will Johnson will be on the all-rookie team. And thank you, as I tweeted out to the 31 other franchises that allowed this to happen. Will Johnson, the best outside corner with respect to Max Melton on the Cardinals roster today.
Man, sounds unbelievable. Sounds dreamy, right? And it was nice getting out there. It was nice seeing Will Johnson in action, running through drills with his fellow position mates out there. Looked smooth. He did. He looked very smooth. He looked like somebody who was higher than the 47th overall pick in the 2025 draft. And that's just answered prayers to the football gods that Cardinals fans have had long gone unanswered. But now they were. And you got a bona fide baller, I think, that's going to step up at the outside corner spot. And then, last week, we didn't have a full participant in Walter Nolen III, and then we did today. And there was a distinct difference as well watching the young man go through drills. But, we're going to hear from the Cardinals defensive coordinator, Nick Rallis, held court. We're going to hear from Jonathan Gannon and Trey McBride. So, yeah, we're not leaving much left from the day that was. But it was a busy one, and it was fun. Got a new road dog and Noah out there, and we were just really getting after it.
It was snapping next. Yay. Snapping next, cashing checks here on PHNX Cardinals. We've got OTA highlights. We've got good stuff. Let's start with Nick Rallis, the Cardinals defensive coordinator, on the 47th overall pick. I love this bite. Let's hear it, Noah.
Yeah, I mean, it was phenomenal. We obviously we love the player, and to get him where we got him, good job, Monty. But I'm excited now, like just getting to work with him in that entire room, another room that's doing a really good job right now.
Good job, Monty. Good job.
Good job. Hey, just a pat on the back. Good job, Austin Fort. Way to go, get him out there.
Do you think it was tough for Nick Rallis? And I know it's like one of those times where you answer your own question.
Yeah.
But you think it was tough for Nick Rallis when he had to watch draft after draft and free agency after free agency, and he looked at Gannon and he's like, I want to take a selfish, let's get some players. And they're like, offense needs some help, right? We got to get Paris. We got to get Marv. It's not his fault that Ojulari and Darius went down, but it's like very similar approach. And we've talked about it to Gannon's time in Philadelphia. It's like flush the offense with resources, free agents and the draft alike, and we'll make it work. And boy, did he make it work. And I feel like this offseason, he knows he was rewarded. And now when push comes to shove, you've got a unit on field that I believe finally matches the caliber of coach that the Cardinals have at DC.
No, I mean, he's I think got confidence. He's a big time poker player, right? And he can make a hand at any cards he's dealt. And 2023, he was given 7-2 offsuit. If you know, like the reference, the worst hand in cards, right? And now I think he's got 2 face cards underneath his hand there, and he's got something to work with for the first time in a long time. So Nick Rallis, like this podcast, very humble, right? He's not going to just sit out there and say, hey, we're going to be top 10 defense, right? We're very modest. And I think trying to kind of show his poker face as far as Will Johnson, a guy that, Jonathan Gannon on Sirius XM said, how outlandish it was that he kind of fell 47th overall, and how like the chance of it were almost non-existent as far as their analytical department. And lo and behold, the ball hawking corner out of Michigan, who's a perfect scheme fit, is drafted by the Cardinals, and he's got essentially 2 first-round picks with his 2 top picks to go with Walter Nolen. And like, it wasn't completely all offense. I mean, they got Garrett Williams the first draft, and I think Nick Rallis loves that pick. He loves Garrett Williams, who we'll talk about later in the show, put some respect on his name. And then you got Darius Robinson, who they utilized a first-round pick, but it was kind of like, oh, like I can't utilize this guy because he's got the injury, at least to start last year, and he's also had the injury to BJ Ojulari, who we got eyes on today. But Nick Rallis is, I don't think anybody can deny there's a big difference between the previous 2 off seasons going into the season and this off season, and what he's got to work with as far as the primary defensive play caller.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to root for this. I root for him, the person. I mean, this could be the last time, if things break well, that we see Nick Rallis. The way the NFL works in the hiring cycle, there are typically anywhere between like 5 to 8 new openings every year. And he is going to be, after this season, on everybody's short list as the young hotshot defensive head coach, right? And we have seen now more often than not, like teams are taking less of the approach, like unless you're Ben Johnson, right, who was thought of as the top, coaching prospect of the last multiple off seasons. They had built up that cachet in the media that folks are just like, can we just get a great leader of men? Can we get a great coach? And we had been hearing things about Rallis spanning 3 years ago in his time in Philadelphia, that this guy was going to be a future head coach. And it makes all the sense in the world now. Like, give Monty Ossenfort credit, as he outlines in that video. You're pushing your chips in the middle of the table for the side of the ball that you feel like you've got. And I say this with respect to all the offensive coaches. You've got a future head coach, a defensive coordinator, and your head coach was a top DC, had 70 sacks in one season. Like, it's okay to say, and I saw some people talk about it within players recently, I can't remember which player, like their identity can be defense. That's okay. You can win that way. The LA Rams, outside of some opportunistic plays from Stafford, were a defensive team last year. They were in the, were they in the divisional round? I think they were in the divisional round last year. Like, you can win with defense and timely quarterback play. But we look at the Cardinals offense, we'll talk about this later in the show, and you look at the infrastructure and all their national best players, people that are well-known across the NFL landscape, play offense. Kyler and Trey and Marv and James and Paris. And we look at that and say, well, you should be an offensive team. When in reality, like, the way the season trended last year, the most consistent side of the ball was the side of the ball that lacked resources and premium players. So you need to reward that. And this young man is going to be the benefactor of that more than anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, even with the most impressive defensive performances, and Philly had that. This season, Jonathan Gannon rose to become the Arizona Cardinals head coach, and Philly finishing the job and winning the Super Bowl last year. Sometimes it gets lost in the headlines. Like, real ball knowers know what happened against Kansas City. I mean, it was that ferocious defensive front seven that completely annihilated Patrick Mahomes and made Travis Kelce look like he should retire. And then you have, who's the guy that gets to go to Disney World and hoist the Lombardi Trophy and gets all the big time endorsement deals? It's going to be the quarterback. It's going to be Jalen Hurts. And like, we'd love to see that. Like, we'd love for this defense to create that and put Kyler Murray and elevate him to that spot, because we know that's possible. I think they've got the personnel to do that. But you can't deny it. Like, I think that Nick Rallis now has the pieces in place to do something special. And like, we joke, and I've said it before, like, somebody close to the situation, when we said, hey, Nick Rallis has got himself a top 10 defense here. And he said, well, if it's just top 10, then he's going to get fired, because I think that there's belief that they got a game-wrecking defense that can really suppress opposing offenses.
Yeah, speaking of that defense, that defensive line had the biggest facelift, not only for the Cardinals, but maybe any singular unit in the NFL. Here is Nick Rallis talking about first-round pick Walter Nolen at defensive tackle.
I mean, I knew he was going to be the talent that we saw on tape, but I would say he's very coachable, great to work with. Like, you see him take those coaching points immediately to the field, whether that's an individual or, when we're going against the offense. And I can tell he studies hard outside the building, because he's got things down pretty fast. So pretty impressive so far.
It's great to hear, especially with all kind of the smoke, faux smoke around Walter Nolen during draft season, where it's like, does this guy love ball? Is he committed? And he's out there practicing. He's wowed his coaches already. We were at the Kyler Murray celebrity softball game. He was being brought up to us unprompted by coaches. Usually we gush over prospects, rightfully so. It's like, I think the Cardinals know what they have. And you and I talked to somebody this offseason who said that while they loved the people and the players that they had on the defensive line last year, there was very little faith that any of them, starters, backups, whatever, could win one-on-one. Like, that was a common theme. Defensive end to defensive end with defensive tackles, like, very few of them, if any, could consistently say, I'm going to go beat my man. You had to scheme it up. You had to have, blitzers and additional rushers, and you had to load one side of the ball. And now it's like, I think you can make a case for every defensive lineman they've added this offseason. In the right scenario, they can win one-on-one against the offensive line.
When you hear Nick Rallis break down who his top pick is on his side of the football, and he says all the right things. When we talked to Walter Nolen at the Kyler Murray Foundation celebrity softball game, he hit all the right notes. It wasn't, hey, I want to come in here and I want to lead the team in sacks. It's like, I want to be a part of a winning group. I want a goose egg put up. That's his word as far as a defense. I want to do things similarly what we did at Ole Miss last year when they had like the second overall defense in college football. Like, he is, I think, willing to do whatever where it pushes back on the several misconceptions about Walter Nolen III, the prospect, that you heard along the draft process, because there's a bunch of like draft prognosticators out there that heard something and then just in the game of telephone just ran with it and created this narrative that he was not coachable or he didn't love football or he had off the field issues, when you're seeing something completely different and you're hearing it from people's opinions that you completely respect, and Rallis and Gannon and players on this team, that Walter Nolen is bought in and he's quick as far as picking things up. And you're seeing him and he's competing at the highest level. I'm still seeing that BS today on my Twitter timeline when I'm tweeting out, Jonathan Gannon answering whether or not it was a contract or health related, and people just assuming, stupid things about Walter Nolen. And he goes out there and he's one of the most impressive guys I saw on the field today.
Yeah. I mean, I think people have a narrative. It's hard to kick that narrative for whatever reason. Very few people like watched Walter Nolen like play football. It's like, what can I be spoon-fed during draft season? And that's going to be my take, right? Doesn't matter I don't know him personally, but you know what? Joe Blow on the national TV said this about him, or so-and-so with a blue check mark said he doesn't work hard.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to take at face value.
There's these SEC programs that felt kind of like jilted, right? That he left Texas A&M, even though it was a disaster situation.
So bad.
And, you know, there's a lot of people, there's money, there's bruised egos that he went on to another SEC. And then there's also the people that are like, well, if I don't know about him, how good could he be? It's like, well, he played on one of the top defenses and he was the top player on that defense. He's pretty good. Just accept that. You don't have to find reasons to poke holes in his game just because you're a non-ball knower. You're just a bit of a college football catch. That's okay. That's okay. But, you know, it doesn't have to be something that follows him. And like, I think at this point, we can kind of put that narrative to bed. Some idiot called him Kendiche 2.0. It's like, you guys have no idea what you're talking about. They're not even in the same stratosphere as far as who they are. They went to the same school, but is it completely different ball game as far as, you know, Robert Kendiche coming from the Ole Miss Rebs to Walter Nolen coming from Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin in that defense.
I mean, the Cardinals may be better than certainly the best for us since we've been covering the team, since I've been following the team. And this is no shot at Bruce Arians. The Cardinals have the best vetting program in terms of draft picks of my adult life.
They cracked the code. I think they did.
They're not all going to be home runs. Some of them might be strikeouts based on their player injuries. Some of them could be triples or doubles. But it's like they're not bringing people in here who are jag-offs, who are not bought in, right? I think I can say that. That's a term. People use that.
I mean,
that's
it's happened.
It's like a boomer term, right?
I approve.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, you know the type. They're not going to bring those. Like Kendiche got past Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians was there when they drafted Robert Kendiche. It was immediately known, like, doesn't work hard, kind of a little bit of a jackass, like not interested. I mean, yes, Steve Keim pulled the trigger, but you know, how many players did Arians sign off on during his tenure? So it's like that happened. With the Cardinals probably don't love during draft season, and we move the needle very little nationally, but that we track top 30 visits during draft season, right? Even Ossenfort kind of threw water on. He tried to throw water on that, and then later came out. It's like, no. All your picks are top 30 visits. All your top picks. Well, why the hell do they do that? So they can bring them into Tempe and vet them for, I don't know, 4 or 6 hours before committing not only a premium pick, but premium funds on them, right? Hey, man, you're going to be tied to us. I'm going to be tied to you. I have to sit by you. I have to live with you at this facility. Are you a good person? Are you a good dude? And they did that with Walter Nolen. They're like, please God fall to us at 16. And he did. And anybody who's sitting there thinking, well, he fooled. I sat next to Walter Nolen. He is a kid, right? This isn't some, guy who's going to come in. I'm going to put on a face and fool everybody. It's like, that is the most intense job interview of all time. And he passed with flying colors. That means more to them than any combine workout and maybe even some of the film that they've seen, depending on whether or not you were healthy. You got to go into that facility and wow them, and they're going to throw everything at you for 4 or 6 hours. So they may miss on players. They're not missing on the person. No chance.
No, I think that they've done a great job as far as vetting that in Ossenfort and Gannon, I think are big time reasons for that. I think you could throw Dave Sears in there as well. And in the coaching staff and everybody that is there for the pre-draft process. You got position coaches that are talking to guys in informals and formals and stuff like that. And then they create their lists, and then they talk to who they want to talk to. And then they figure out, the most important things to them as an organization. And like you'll see throughout the draft process, especially on social media, people try to start to debunk things. And some organizations use it for this, and some organizations do it for that. Jacksonville doesn't. They brought in one top 30, and the Rams brought in this many or this little. It's like, no, the Arizona Cardinals utilize that as a tool. It is a massive tool. And it's not like this smoke screen thing. It's about trying to figure out as much about this player so they can take their investment and make the best decision possible with it. And so far, it's been pretty successful. Like when you look at like There's not any volatile stocks as far as what Monty Ossenford has invested in the NFL draft stock exchange. Like he's finding guys that are going to at least come in and they're going to put in the work and they're going to hopefully develop. Is it incremental or is it big steps? Are they going to be, just like guys you can roster? Or are they going to be guys that are impact makers? And then that's what you'll see. But if you've got a first round pick, like he's going to do as much homework as possible and understand like this isn't going to be a big swing and the miss for the organization because we understand how it sets things back for us.
I just, again, you trust them so much now because they've earned it, and you spend time with Gannon and Ossenford, and then you spend time with the players that they bring in. It's like, are we surprised that Michael Wilson and Garrett Williams are like super high level guys, right?
Yeah.
Like, but this offseason was about mirroring high level intellectual football junkies with premium prospects, right? You had to find that marriage. And to get that, like, think about how this has happened with Walter Nolen and Will Johnson. Because I know Walter, they were picked like what, 31 picks away from each other, 21 picks away from each other. They weren't super close in proximity, but I do feel like they're going to be tied together because, as you point out early in the show, it is like some teams in fandom say this because they cope after the draft. This is the truth. The Cardinals had 2 first-round picks this year, but one of them has an asterisk because of an knee injury. Right? Yeah. Which, by the way, seems pretty flippin' healthy right now. But you had to have 2 things happen for these players to become available. You had to have a team in Chicago who took a 3rd tight end, which pushed down Walter Nolen down your board. And then you had to have people be concerned. Now, We've seen in hindsight, potentially foolishly, with Will Johnson's knee. Without those 2 things happening, like, as much as we love these they may not have been available. If the Chicago Bears were well run and did not have Steve Keim 2.0 as their GM, they would have taken Michael Williams, and the Niners would have taken Walter Nolen, and he would not have been for the team. And I don't know who the Cardinals would have taken.
Right. And the Browns and their 3 picks in between when the Cardinals were on the clock. It's unbelievable. It's just like bad organizations stay bad. We've got highlights from, of course, OTAs today and more clips and highlights from the pressers. Make sure you keep it locked right here. PHNX Cardinals.
So fired up here on a football Tuesday. Fired up because right now is the perfect time to get locked in like OTAs with the accurate cost for heating and cooling. With summer bills here, it's time to get smart about savings. How about a smart thermostat? It can help you manage your bills effectively, especially here in the Valley. Smart thermostats can work with your APS rate plan to maximize comfort and convenience, fellas, while minimizing your energy costs. Now, if you're on the APS time of use plan, use your smartphone, your mobile device to automatically adjust the thermostat to take advantage of lower costs at peak hours. I'm constantly doing that. I'm constantly manipulating with my smart thermostat, so I'm saving money and keeping my family cool in the process. APS customers may be eligible for smart thermostats as low as $0 when you're enrolled in the APS Cool Reward program. Check it out right now. If you're not sure how to install a smart thermostat, free install is available at the APS Marketplace. Again, if you already have a smart thermostat in your home, see if it's eligible in Cool Rewards. Check it out right now. Find instant rebates, discounts, special offers, and more on smart thermostats, energy-efficient appliances, and more at marketplace.aps.com.
Unbelievable that we get to partner up with APS and also Wendy's. We all know Wendy's and their classic frosty flavors. Hands off, Johnny. This is my ad read. Talk about what you love. It's Frosties, man. Big news. All new Frosty Swirl and Frosty Fusion flavors. And you can get either chocolate or vanilla. It's the same creamy treat that you've always loved. It's been there since your youth, and it continues to be innovated by our friends with the, of course, Red Pigtails Wendy's. So what are these new flavors? Well, thanks for asking. Check it out. How about the Frosty Swirl Strawberry, Brownie, Batter, and Caramel? Check them out right now. 3 blended through with the mixed Frosty Fusions, Oreo Brownie, Caramel Crunch, Pop-Tart Strawberry, not to mention that, yes, that you can still get vanilla. Try them all with your favorite Oreo Brownie stand. It's swirled. It's tough to beat, but also, I mean, Pop-Tarts and a Frosty, that's unbelievable. Whoever figured that out, give them a raise. Anyway, whatever flavor you're craving, odds are we've got the Frosty for it. So clock in for the sweet treat anytime, including midnight or later. Wendy's all-new Frosty flavors, a refresh on a classic. Gotta be Wendy's. Participating U.S. Wendy's hours may vary by location, but you can find them open up late.
Michael Scott, hot and juicy redhead. Her name is Wendy's. Sir, this is a Wendy's. Oh, okay. Put her on the phone, please.
I wanted to get to something real quick. If we could go to the chat, Noah, you could scroll up a little bit. I believe it is all Damon dogs go to heaven. It's kind of up there. All Damon dogs go to heaven. There he is. Yep, there it is. Kendiche was a top 5 pick. Cards took a flyer on. Can't blame him too much. Yeah, I mean, when you think about the Cardinals back then, obviously run by Keim, and it was Bruce Arians was the coach, and they just gotten Chandler Jones, and they were coming off the drubbing in the NFC Championship game to Carolina. Like they did have a weakness in the interior of the defensive line, and he was considered, a top prospect. All the off the field noise fell out of a window on synthetic marijuana and all that stuff that goes into it. But I do agree. Like even just going back to, what was it, 2016, Johnny? 2016 draft. Like the vetting process is completely changed, I think, league wide. Like I think now most teams have figured out how to get more information, not to make mistakes like that, because you are seeing prospects the caliber of Kendiche, who was like the top overall guy and coming out of high school going to Ole Miss, that they will pass on that type of athleticism. And because what they figured out along like the collegiate process and then the pre-draft process. Like
who fell this year because everybody was like, might be a bad dude. Hey, Mike Green. Mike Green fell to like the end of the second round. Right. Like, I don't want to put words in his mouth. He's not here to defend himself, but like, would Steve Keim have drafted Mike Green in the first round? Like based on his track record, like, I don't know. Yeah. Rolling the dice. Like, again, we've talked about it. The worst thing that happened to Steve Keim, he hit on Tyrann Mathieu, who had off the field concerns, and he hit on small school players, John Brown and David Johnson. So instead of treating those like outliers, he treated it like the norm. And they didn't draft an Ohio State player for 10 years. For 10 years between Beanie Wells and Paris Johnson, they didn't draft an Ohio State player. So I'm with you. And listen, I'm not going to come on here and be a hypocrite. You probably find old tweets like, I thought the value of Kendiche was good, but I'm not a GM. Like, if you spent time with Robert Kendiche, you should know not a very good pick. Whereas I'm sure if you spent time with the player that was taken, I don't know, about 5 to 7 spots later in future Hall of Famer Chris Jones, you probably would have been like, you know what, this guy's better football player, better dude. Even if we don't want to take him at 27, let's trade down, or 28 or whatever it was. But they were bulletproof. They had just been to the NFC Championship game. They were picked to win the NFC next year. They were just like, we're lighting $100 bills on fire. We're just doing whatever we want to do. Cardinals don't operate like that. The Cardinals, up until this offseason with Austin Ford and what he did in free agency, almost were too conservative, to a fault in this rebuild. They ate their vegetables. They didn't spend, Last offseason, outside of the draft, was very underwhelming. And so they have had the perfect kind of complement to free agency in the draft this year, where it was like, we have depth. We like our depth. We need bell cow blue chip players in the draft, and we need to raise the talent floor on the defensive line. And some of those players, all those players, were available during OTAs today. Bo, you want to cue up these highlights, my guy?
Yeah, our guy Noah is out there shooting some great, tasty highlights for us. Let's get him going here. Fire him up. There's the franchise quarterback in slow-mo. Yeet, throwing it to, I don't know who's over there, catching the football. A little handoff. No, going to toss it down the field. So Kyler Murray warming up here. There's Birch, number 52. Christian Jones playing some tackle spot. There's Walter Nolen getting in, just throwing around new defensive line coach Debo, who really gets involved in the drills. There's Darius Robinson, 56. Man,
he looks
There's
great.
Kenny Dillingham hanging out, talking ball with Jonathan Gannon, probably talking about his best friends over the PHNX Cardinals podcast. You got to join those guys. There's Baron Browning. He's just playing around with the sled. A couple of shots here, number 5, Baron Browning, working on his strength. I don't know if he's doing some cross training or not on the defensive line. Seems like he was putting some time in. That was Jonah Williams, the first guy going off on the sled.
Good.
So
that looked pretty
he was
good.
on the practice field, and then here's Sub-Zero, Will Johnson, number 0, just looking smooth. There's him and Elijah Jones, little not medicine ball, but yoga ball. And there's Cody Simon, number 50, off-ball linebacker. And then Zaven Collins, who we talked to at the end of the day at the edge spot. That we'll put some clips from Zaven Collins. Haven't gotten any of them up on social yet, but look for those later. But successful day on the grass for the Cardinals.
Excited to see what other YouTube channels here on YouTube repurpose that video without credit. Excited to see that here on YouTube. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. I'll tell you what, Baron Brown. I'm sorry. If Baron Browning's trying to court me back in to becoming a fan, I'm going to tell you right now, single digit might be working for Baron Browning. Single digit and also not being asked to save the defensive line. Okay, Baron Browning, I see what you're doing here. Kind of laying in the weeds a little bit. Single digit, looking spry on the sled.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Baron Browning looks much better with a single digit next to, I don't know, Walter Nolen opposite Josh Sweat. I'm going to go on a limb and say he might be a little bit better this year. Talk about aura.
He certainly caught Noah's eye. I didn't even tell him to get eyes or a lens on Baron Browning. He was just all over number 5.
I knew the history between him and Johnny.
Oh,
so
you
I
did?
thought I'd highlight it.
Noah must be into what we like to call pressures without sacks. That's what he specializes in. He
Big
puts the pressure
guy.
on. He hasn't been able to finish the job yet, but he is like the Cardinals version of Bryce Huff. That the 49ers just got last week. It's like a guy who you think can play. He's shown he can do some things, although Huff has a 10-sack season. But I do feel like, Ohio State was in the pipeline last year, acclimated. And I think right now with the contract he signed, like, man, if he were to perform this year, let's say, like, what's a good season for Baron Browning, in your opinion?
Like 7.5 sacks.
So let's say he gets to 8 sacks. Is that not one of the best contracts on the team? He signed for nothing. And I'm sure that's their thought process. Like, here's a little 2-year deal. Go out and earn it. And then we'll talk again, right? We've done it with a bunch of other guys. So that's intriguing. Birch, super excited. All the rookies. Will Johnson, Oro for days. It's just we're focusing so much on the defense. Let's make a pivot.
Well, hold on. Let's just listen to Nick Rallis. We heard Rallis talk about Nolen, so we're good. I think we're clear there. So I apologize. Let's pivot. Because all the obviously the eyes are on the defensive side of the football. Heavy investments made throughout the offseason. Yeah, there is the offense that's led by Kyler Murray and crew. He knows that. Scoring points.
I'm familiar. Here's what else I'm familiar with. That the offense looks very familiar. It's the same guys, same players, right? We've talked about it ad nauseum. And then we're all jazzed up about these defensive additions because we know, and there's a trust level. We're in the trust tree, right? Who's in the trust tree? Me, you, and Nick Rallis in this fan base. We're all together in the trust tree.
Yeah.
Where's Drew Petzing in that trust tree? Kind of on the outside looking in right now, right? Drew, you want to in? You want to branch on the trust tree? Can we trust you to make the necessary tweaks with this offense to get it from middling to top 10? Which you have Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Kyler Murray and James Conner. It should be top 10. Yeah. Listen to this clip that kind of took on a life of itself on social media from Trey McBride talking about the offense, and then I want to get Bo's opinion. Let's hear him.
Yeah, it already is. I could tell from the first year they were here to where we are now, the plays they're putting in, it's not as fundamental, it's not as basic. They're adding a lot of motions and a lot of, sauce is what I call it, just putting a little, extra flavor on the same plays that we have, maybe motion guys to it, running different guys and different things. So definitely a lot more complex. Trying to stick to our main, concepts that we have, but dressing them up in different ways, whether, one guy's running a motion or some guy's doing a route, but it's all kind of the same concepts, just different ways to get to it. So yeah, this offense can be very complex, and the way that Drew and these guys have changed throughout the offseason and continue to build it, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see us in action here.
I like to get lost in the sauce of this offense kind of taking on the next phase, the evolution. Is Is that a little concerning when it's like, we're all like, hey, the offense needs to evolve because it looks kind of dull. And then your best player on the team comes out and is like, it's not as basic now. It's like, oh, wait, what? Like, yes, I'm excited about that. But is it Trey McBride also admitting like, hey, the offense didn't evolve last year and it was obvious?
Was it a bit vanilla, right? Or are they, you know, they're going from just doing pre-algebra to taking it up a notch and maybe getting to some calculus or something like that, going a little higher. I think that the offensively, I mean, you should probably just look at this as a positive. Like it's going in the right direction. Like, can you be frustrated that, man, it's year 3 and it's just taking this much continuity or chemistry to get to this point? Like, shouldn't it at the NFL level, you be able to kind of just hit the ground running like that? And I guess it's not necessarily true for all franchises, but you know, for Trey to be excited about it for them, because if you think about where they were, Johnny, like they at least in my opinion, they were close, and like the close wasn't good enough, obviously, to make the postseason. Close made their average look their averages look pretty pedestrian across the board, but with a little bit extra sauce, you know, could they go from a team scoring 23 points per game to a team that's scoring 25, 26 points per game or more? And then that's where you'll just say, okay, it took the time it took, but it was worth it in the end.
I'm with you. I'm going to choose to look at this as a positive because, and we forget, Marv was a rookie last year, right? And we like, okay, you want to keep it basic for Marv, your top receiver. Michael Wilson was just a second-year player. Kyler Murray's first full year in the offense. He got mental reps coming back from an ACL, but he wasn't on the practice field until after Halloween. So maybe we're naive. Maybe I'm naive to think like, okay, and you also had rotating right tackles. You had a rookie guard at some point. Like the continuity we're speaking of. What's that?
And defensively, I think that, you know, you were trying to at least hold on to the football and maintain possessions. Like, you were vanilla, but out of, you know, necessity to try to keep your defense on the sideline to give it its best shot because of what you had or lack thereof personnel wise.
And that's something that doesn't get talked about enough. But I think Cardinal fans, I think this is the time in which when we hit week 1, and you're playing 2 bad defenses in a row, New Orleans and Carolina, with offensive coaches, rebuilding New Orleans, maybe the worst team in the NFL. No one wants to see you run James Conner 40 times, with all due respect. Like it was such a tease last year that week 2, and Marv had the game that he had, and we're like, buckle up. This is just how it's going to be every week. And we only got like that sparingly. It was like a flash in the pan, right? And now it's like, I don't need Marv to go off for 150 and 2 touchdowns every week, but the offense has to look like it's capable of not. Remember, we always used to talk about conceding drives. Like nobody conceded a drive like Drew Petzing's offense when it was like, well, negative play, punt, and to your point,
even on
we're going to run it
down.
right. Negative play on second down. It's like 3rd and 12, series is over, right? And to your point, it's like, well, we don't want to turn the ball over. We don't want to put our defense in a position where they have to defend 30 yards. So we're going to run the ball and we're going to punt. We're going to play field position. And they did. And it worked out in some aspects. It worked out against the Chargers and late against the Dolphins. Like, and I understand that. This year, though, you have the athletes, at least on paper, capable of scoring at will. And we need to see glimpses of that. Like, and I'm with you. I think 23 points to 25 points is a huge difference. It may not seem that way, but even like Kyler Murray had 21 passing touchdowns, and a lot of it was backloaded in that finale. I think Kyler Murray can be 30 total touchdowns rushing and passing. This is a playoff team. Like it's you put a number on it, and I hate doing that. I honestly feel like if you're going to be a postseason contender, your quarterback has to have 30 plus touchdowns.
I agree. Total touchdowns, no doubt about it. I mean, it's kind of the what we've seen over, especially in modern days football, what is kind of points to successful offensive football. Right. What is the Arizona Cardinals head coach, Jonathan Gannon? He talked about the offensive side of the football. Hear from JG and more coming up here on PHNX Cardinals. Johnny, when it's going good, It's going good. Pure
Yeah.
Edibles can elevate any moment. Check out what's going on with our friends over at Pure Edibles. Founded in Arizona, available in 130 dispensaries statewide. Started up in Flagstaff at Noble Herb Dispensary, has now made its way down the I-17 and proudly calls Phoenix, Arizona home. Check them out right now. Full-fledged candy company. They're not covered in sugar, though, like their competitors. Check out their gummies, their kicks. They're just like Starbursts, plus chews, soft candies like caramels, and hard candies. Pure effects are clearly listed on each 10, so you know exactly what effects to expect from Pure Edibles. Now the gummies, they're designed to be ripped, bit in half, making them easily shareable and that easy to dial in that exact dose. Go find yourself some Pure Edible products from one of the over 130 dispensaries here in Arizona.
Big thanks to our friends at Pure Edibles. Big thanks to our friends. Our show sponsor today, our friends at Circle K. Become a member of the Inner Circle for free. I know it's hot outside, right? You got trips planned. You want to stay hydrated. You want to stay full with a tank at not a premium price. How about save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups with our friends at Circle K? And then you're going to save 3 cents per gallon every single day. But it's not just the gas savings with the free membership program. By the way, phone number, email, you got them, you're fully enrolled. There you go. Ad lib, again, at this point, Brack, you can get your favorite snacks, your favorite deals, right? They've got the Polar Pops, the Frosters, 79 cents. Thirst has met its match. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details. I'm going to tell you, I was at a Circle K this weekend. I went inside. Everything costs, in my opinion, like over $15, $20. And I went inside. I got multiple Gatorades, multiple snacks, and a couple waters, just like, offhand, just loading up my car, loading up the SUV. And my total was like $7. And I'm like, oh, there still is a place that you can go and save money. It's with our friends at Circle K.
That's where the America's Thirst Shop. You don't get that nickname by, overcharging people for snacks. We just got
Disneyland price
here. Yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
I'll pay
$20 for a churro?
$45.
That sounds about right. $20 just to cover myself in brown sugar. Look, Jonathan Gannon, he took the guest dais today, holding court during the press conference. JG got to talk about the Cardinals as far as their offense goes. Let's hear from the head coach.
I think the word that I want to see improvement is efficiency from the whole offense, from the whole team, truthfully. But the really, in my mind, what hits my brain when you ask that, Darren, is whatever the game calls for, because I think it each game displays differently. So, they have a vote too. So how they want to try to defend, we have to be able to exploit the weaknesses of how they're wanting to defend.
I think that's fair. And,
right,
piggybacking off of our prior conversation, I don't think this is going to be a team where this fan base is going to ask, hey, can you just go score 30 points every week?
Mm-hmm.
The difference is they did not feel capable ever of doing that last year. Like, save for the Miami game, it was like, I don't think this team can score 4 touchdowns this weekend. Like, to beat the Vikings on the road and your defense gave you a hell of a shot, you needed to score over 30 points. You could not do that. You lost that game, right? Yeah. So I'm with Gannon. It's like, you want to win some games ugly. You want to be able to be in a slugfest with the LA Rams and win a game 18-10 or whatever it is. Go, you can do that. Same with Seattle. But when the defense has got injuries and the rookies have hit a wall and you aren't vibing on a Sunday, which happens every flipping year. And for the Cardinals, it was Carolina last year. Your season was on the line. You got for calls. The officials were asked that game. And it's like, okay, offense, you just need to go score every possession. They couldn't do it, right? They had no passing game. That's when you have to turn it on. Yeah. So I'm with Gannon. You can win ugly and whatever it calls for and be consistent. But we also can't sit there and feel like the offense is incapable of doing it.
Right. Well, again, efficiency is a word that we heard last year, right? Like, I think even when they were looking for not reasons, but why Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't a vocal point in the offense, they were looking towards, distributing the football to the open man and being an efficient offense. But efficiency can't also override your ability to create explosives in the passing game. Like, because that needs to be part of the equation, because we saw what it looks like without it. So you can't just say, hey, we wanted to be an efficient offense and, Kyler Murray's just bing, 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 boom, all over, hitting and checking down passes and stuff like that. At some point, you got to get explosives, because it opens up your offense and gives it an ability for even more efficiency. Like, efficiency doesn't just mean you be a conservative offense and move the chains and make your way towards the end zone. Sometimes, like, the efficiency will stall you out, and they need to come up with more big plays. Like, I don't think you can run with that. Craig Fooey over at ABC 15 asked Jonathan Gannon, as far as, was there any statistics that he looks at that he wants to improve offensively? This was his answer.
The statistic that matters is wins and losses to me. So we need to win more. And then how do we go about doing that? I think it's our process, and obviously the acquisition of new players in the building. Our thought is that helps competition to those rooms and hopefully brings the best out of the whole team and each unit, all three phases, and each position room.
Yeah, I mean, there's competition everywhere now defensively. Yeah. I think offensively now it should take. I mean, if you're Drew Petzing, hopefully it's like a hint, like, hey, we don't really need competition at receiver. I mean, they wouldn't say this publicly, but privately, we have competition enough. We have the fourth overall pick. Make it work, right? Like, I don't need competition for Marv when Marv isn't being. It's our argument the entire offseason. It's like, you can add a receiver in the second or third round, but it doesn't matter. It's a moot point unless your offense can show that you can feature a receiver, right? I know the defensive line can feature linemen, defensive linemen, cornerbacks, safeties. I trust that. Go flood it with as much depth as you want. Same thing with running back with Drew Petzing. No more skill players until they figure it out with the guys that they have. It's like, no, you can't go out and get a new toy unless you play with the toys you have at home, right? That's how I feel with this passing. Yeah.
Aw, come on, Dad.
No.
One last thing from JG about the Cardinals offense here. Just an update as far as his franchise quarterback, Kyler Murray.
Honestly, just efficiency. You know what I mean? Let's make sure that we're every play we're getting something out of it. You know what I mean? I like where we're at from an operational standpoint. I know he feels really comfortable with the schematic parts, the things that we kept the same, things that we changed. And that'll be a work in progress. But he's working on things that he wants to work on, and then he's the leader of the offense, so he's responsible for all other 10 guys and himself out there. So he's doing a really good job.
Kyler wants to rip it, and he wants to run it. And you can't convince me last year. You can have all the K1 slander you want, and I was critical of his play down the stretch. You can't tell me. Watch the games last year. He was coached to a fault to check the ball down. To Bo's point earlier, let's not take chances. Let's give the defense a chance to, play field position. Let's keep drives going, right? 3 yards times 4 is a first down. And I'm sure if that felt like their philosophy last year, that can't be what happens this year. You have to give a little bit.
You have to give a little bit, and now you're going to have a defense that might be able to create more opportunities for Kyler Murray and that offense. One of the big reasons for that, Garrett Williams. Was Garrett Williams, Johnny, though, a victim of the Cardinals' lack of relevancy on that side of the football? Criminally underrated in the latest rankings. We disagree with it. It's coming up next, PHNX Cardinals.
Who are the odds to be the next head coach of the Phoenix Suns? Should the Phoenix Suns make a call to Tibbs? Thibodeau? Should they go do it? Felt like that would be a classic. Phoenix
man.
Suns.
Does he have any ties to Michigan State? I think that's what qualifies him.
You can no longer, thankfully, bet on the Suns right now. You've escaped that hellscape, but you can dabble. NBA Finals are in full swing, and of course, we've got NHL playoffs, and then of course, dabble with some Major League Baseball going on. Diamondbacks, they win. I think they were like 1-0 in the month of June.
They're up right now, 1 run.
Yeah, let's go. All right, right now you can bet with our friends at Bet365. 90 million users worldwide. They've got 780,000 events each year, early payout offers. Again, Got Slam Dunk Saturdays, NBA Tip-Off Tuesdays. They've got the early payout offer. Whatever you want to do it with our friends at Bet365. New customers get this, $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. All you got to do is sign up, use the bonus code, you guessed it, PHNX365, deposit a 10 spot, and again, $5 on anything you want, $150 in bonus bets. They do not expire, friends. Again, breaking news with Bet365 right now. Do that deal, and you will prosper with player props, futures, total spreads, and more. Whatever the moment. It's never ordinary with Bet365. You got to be 21 years and older, physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Again, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo, for more info.
Snakes up 5-3, Johnny. Also betting on the finals. And doesn't
They're
look like
back.
it's going to be that even of a series. Huge favorites are OKC. But look, maybe make some nice little scratch. Stack things up for the football season with Bet365. Also a good bet for your new flooring. Empire Today. Check it out. Why is Empire Today the best bet for your new flooring? Tile, carpeting, hardwood, whatever it may be, laminates. Because they got the experts over there. They're going to help you get it the quickest, the convenient, most convenient way to get new flooring in your dwelling. Pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space and see how it looks with your furniture in your house. Talk about convenience. Most important, making sure everything matches. Get the precise measurements taken and also have all your questions answered. There's no surprises with Empire Today. And also, hey, how about saving $350 from the jump? Go to empiretoday.com/PHNX and get $350 off your new flooring. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because everything's better when it's free and at your house. You don't have to go anywhere. PHNX listeners get that $350 discount when using the promo code PHNX. Use that discount PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHNX for all the details.
Another day, another disturbing list from our friends at Pro Football Focus. First, it was overall rosters where they had the Cardinals 19th overall. They've dived into top cornerbacks of the NFL. And to your point, Garrett Williams unequivocally is probably considered the Cardinals' best corner, albeit a slot corner. And it's not so much where PFF has him ranked, Bo, more so who they have ranked above him, I think is the problem. Let's take a look at Pro Football Focus's breakdown of the Cardinals' soon-to-be third-year player out of Syracuse. After struggling his rookie season, which he did not, he had an interception in his first game, but whatever, and missing more than half the year, again, coming off an ACL, resulting in a 57.2 PFF coverage grade. Williams was excellent in 2024 with an 83.7 coverage grade, fourth best and seventh best PFF advanced coverage grade, yet he was 22nd overall. Math's not mathing already. If he's able to replicate his sophomore campaign, well, why wouldn't he, in which he was allowed 0.68 yards and the second fewest yards in coverage, Williams, how about this? He could jump into the top 10. They're saying, yeah, it was good, but give me more. And yet they've got Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean as like top 10 corners. And it's like, I like those guys. You don't think they were the benefactors of, I don't know, a historic defensive line? You don't think Cooper DeJean, with his first interception in the Super Bowl, was the benefactor of Josh Sweat and Milton Williams crashing down on Patrick Mahomes? Again, I have made the argument, you have made the argument, Bo. Garrett Williams has done more than less given the Cardinals' atrocious pass rush, which PFF highlighted how bad it was just the other day.
Taking a look at some of these names like Jair Alexander at 9, as you mentioned, Cooper DeJean, who, look, trendy name, but if you look at the statistics, Garrett Williams, I think, was better. You've got guys like Tariq Woolen, who's really bad last year. You got Darius Slay, one spot ahead of him, where just the statistics just outright show Garrett Williams was a better corner than him. What metrics are they going off? What's the criteria for this? And this has got to be, and I've seen some sloppy lists in my time, from different publications, but there is this one is about as uneven as it gets. Like I really can't figure out what they were basing this off of, because like they're giving stats from 2023 and 2024. And what do they hold as the most significant criteria to make a list for 2025? And how the hell does Garrett Williams fall all the way outside of the top 20 to 22? Like, this is a guy that deservedly should be on the fringe of top 10. and he's way down there at 2022. It's just, I think it's a disservice to Pro Football Focus readers. Like, you're supposed to be the, very informational, and this is not. Like, this to me seems like it's just kind of clickbaity, and they're just trying to cater. Like, Sauce Gardner is the number one corner on this list. He beat out Patrick Surtain, the defensive player of the year. We saw Sauce Gardner. He had an uneven year. Like, he wasn't even close to
They don't want to pay him. The Jets are like, yeah, I don't know if you're the guy.
Right.
What? He's the number one corner. Who wrote this article? John Costco?
We've had Costco on the show, and he has, he's very insightful. I followed his work throughout last year that had Garrett Williams high in the ranks, like consistently in the top 10. Maybe it's something I reach out to John and just try to get his reasoning on this.
I would say there's some coastal biases at play, big market biases at play. Jalen Ramsey, who the Miami Dolphins can't get rid of, is 14th on that list. Jalen Ramsey, who looked done last year. His legs were gone.
Alexander is cooked too.
These teams can't get rid of these players. Garrett Williams is going to sign a massive extension. And since Garrett Williams started playing off of a torn ACL, he's been one of the best slot corners in the NFL. Now, maybe they're discounting him because he plays slot corner.
But I see slots all over here. Like, Cooper DeJean is a slot corner. He gets his flowers.
Cooper DeJean is better than Garrett Williams.
He's not.
Get out of here with that. That's awful. That is so bad.
Right. You got, I believe Devin Witherspoon plays a lot in the slot for Seattle. He's 12.
I'll give you that. He should be top 10. Devin Witherspoon's a top 10 corner.
You got
who's not been good.
Taron Johnson for the Bills is just 2 spots ahead of Garrett Williams.
You feel like Madden ratings where, if you're good, you're like grandfathered into the 90s every year. Like, that's what this feels like. Sauce Gardner was awful last year, and people are like, did we take the wrong corner taking him instead of like Stingley Jr. or whatever it was? Yeah. And they're questioning whether or not they're going to sign him. They don't know if he's worth it. He's the number one corner. He was awful last year. Garrett Williams, there hasn't been a singular player that has lost more, and we talked about it, from the Cardinals pass rush being egregiously bad the last couple of years. If the football gods have any say in it, Garrett Williams has like 8 interceptions this year and just completely dominates, multiple pick sixes. And, hopefully that would be enough to get him inside the top 10. To do what Garrett Williams does with no pass rush is next to impossible. It's next to impossible. I know people can throw a different direction, but the Cardinals could not rush with 4 or 5 or 6, and he still locked down damn near every receiver he went up against.
Cooper DeJean at 11. I mean, after watching what Milton Williams and Josh Sweat, how they helped him in the Super Bowl, it's like good for making the plays that are presented to you. Like there is this, you get credit for that, but he was a huge product of that defensive front seven.
He had 6. I'm going off regular season.
Yeah.
Even though I don't know if John went off regular season. Let's just be fair and this should be a regular season award, by the way. It's not player success. Shouldn't be predicated on like, hey, is my team good enough to get to the playoffs? Cooper DeJean last year as a rookie had a half a sack, a forced fumble, okay? And then how many? 6 passes.
What a half a sack it was, though. Oh, man.
6 passes defended. But he is, a high draft pick, and people love him because he's different and he returns punts. I like Cooper DeJean.
He's our colleague, for God's sake, on the All-City Network. We're pretty much.
I like Cooper DeJean
right there with him. We're all boys.
Garrett Williams last year had 9 passes defended, had 2 interceptions, had a forced fumble, and unequivocally had better numbers via PFF than Cooper DeJean.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Just another one's like, oh. Forgot about Garrett Williams. Let's throw him in here.
Throw him in the 20s. Throw Garrett Williams.
You know what? You hear that? You hear that sound? It's OT here on PHNX Cardinals. Make sure to go over to gophnx.com. That's where the conversation, but mostly the fun continues as we just check out what's going on over at PFF. Is this going to be like every list we open, the Arizona Cardinals and their players are going to be right around like 21, 20, 22?
Last year, I was trying to think where most rankings had the Cardinals last offseason. And I think this is about, they just don't know what to do with them. Speaking of that, the fun continues at NFL.com. Eric Edholm, who is a little bit of a fanboy for the 49ers, ranked I think there was 14
you see
teams.
Brandon Ayuk on social today?
What did he do?
He was posting cryptic message after cryptic message. A lot of them we can't even repeat on this show, but then one was like T.O. working out in his driveway. Yeah, in his driveway. That's always a good sign because that's like one of the more infamous moments where wide receiver just wanted out no matter what was done or said.
It's good too because Ricky Pearsall got hurt in OTAs. So it's Brock Purdy and Juwan Jennings really ripping it up there at OTAs. Eric Edholm ranked the teams that have never won a Super Bowl most likely to win one this season. I want to say there are 14 teams that have never won a championship. It could be 11. Cardinals, of course, in that list. They have the longest professional championship drought in sports. He had them ranked 7th best odds behind, the Detroits and the Bills of the world. Let's take a look at what Eric said. I like Eric. He was nice to me early on, my broadcasting days. He basically saying, we're coming up on 17 years since the Cardinals' lone Super Bowl appearance, and they've made the playoffs a mere 4 times. Gannon has steered the team back toward respectability, and Arizona was briefly in the NFC West driver's seat last November. Yet the Cardinals finished 8-9, sinking down the stretch and raising questions of just how seriously they are to contending. Still, there's intrigue brewing here. Kyler Murray has experienced an up-and-down tenure, but the top pick has shown elite bursts. He talks about Trey and Marv and James Conner. Then he does outline the defensive additions: Sweat, Tomlinson, Walter Nolen, Will Johnson, Darius, Baron Browning. Perhaps this team remains a year away from making significant noise, but don't overlook Arizona's ascension. Even in the tough NFC West, the arrow appears to be pointing upward. And so I'll give him credit with that.
Okay.
Back to our point from yesterday. How can the Cardinals be worse? How can they have the same record? Like, Seattle won 10 games last year, didn't make the playoffs. I guess that's possible that would be very hard for us to stomach on this show, but it's possible. But you're talking about a team right now that had not 8 wins, should have won more, and their talent level was the reason why, in a lot of ways, they were held back last year.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at this list, I agree with the top 2 teams like the Bills and the Lions. They're still put in a solid spot. Vikings, there's some good franchises that have not inexplicably not won a Super Bowl. It's tough, right? And then at 4, this is what you really need to know about the list. They have the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals with that defense they'd be lucky to navigate their way to a playoff spot alone, but to navigate potentially 4 games in the postseason is impossible. Almost one of the more impossible feats maybe in NFL history. Like,
just
given where their defense
Cincinnati Burrows, that's it. Because that's all you're saying with that Joe Burrow is going to win the Super Bowl.
He does. I mean, Joe Burrow had about as good of a year as he could last year, given the circumstances, and what he was able to accomplish was unbelievable. I have no doubts about Joe Burrow. Have all my doubts about this defense. Trey Hendrickson, I mean, that thing is headed for the divorce. They haven't signed their 1st-round pick, Shamar Stewart, that we don't even know if he can play at the NFL level. He had a sack and a half every year he played at Texas A&M. He was not productive. So, like, what have they done to that defense that was bottom of the league last year? I mean, there's just not – they don't have the ability to do that. Like, they're just not a team that I take seriously as far as – contenders in 2025. Like, I don't have them as the 4th best non-Super Bowl winning team to win a Super Bowl. It's not possible.
Who else is ahead of the Cardinals on that list?
The Texans are at 5. I would put the Texans ahead of the Bengals. I would put the Chargers ahead of the Bengals just because of their ability to play football on
way better coaches side. On those way better coaches.
Yeah.
D'Amico Ryans and Jim Harbaugh over fraud Zach Taylor. Yes.
And then you got the Cardinals, and then you have the Falcons behind the Cardinals, the Jags behind the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Titans, the Browns, and that's your list.
I mean, I would say that's pretty fair.
Okay.
I have no issue with that. Like, I think the Cardinals should be ahead of the Bengals because of how it's Burrow, Chase, Higgins, and then just disaster class. But like outside of that, like
the Bengals, Johnny, had a strength of victory last year just over 300.
Oh my God.
So the teams
Broncos
that they
style.
beat, yeah, the teams that they beat had a combined winning percentage just over 30%.
I mean, like I need that. I see that. I want that for this franchise, right? Like that. Sometimes you got to fraud it up to get respect, Zach Taylor. Yep. You got to be an awful coach and then be gifted generational talent that carries you to a Super Bowl. I mean, like he is, like Burrow is proven to be like the lone quarterback outside of Jalen Hurts now to be able to match wits with Mahomes and beat Mahomes straight up. Like, but it happens in a blue moon. So I'm sure that he's just grandfathered in. People unequivocally have Joe Burrow ahead of, Justin Herbert and CJ Stroud, but I would take both those teams.
I honestly think Herbert might be headed towards like Stafford territory. Like, how long are they?
Not with Harbaugh. Not with Harbaugh.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say? I thought Burrow. I meant Burrow.
Yeah. Yes. 1,000%. 1,000%.
I mean, he's gonna have to force his way out of there at some point. 5, 6 years.
Is he just Carson Palmer 2.0? Is it another Carson Palmer? Cardinal fans, we've had our ups and downs with ownership. At least you feel like, I don't feel like ownership is holding this team back at the moment. Not with the people they've empowered. We've been empowered by your super chats. Drop a like on this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Big thanks, 350 watching live here on an off-season football Tuesday. Let's start with one airborne, $2. How about Dude Zero or Zero Dude for Anderson? Well, Bo, I like both those recommendations. You tweeted out something before the show about this.
Yeah, something I noticed last night, just scrolling Instagram, that I noticed that Noah's beloved Lions, there's been a bit of a digit change up. And Jahmyr Gibbs has gone from 26 to 0. And then Terrion Arnold, who did have Sub-Zero as the nickname, is going from 0 to 6.
Yeah.
So that leaves Sub-Zero, the nickname, up for grabs. So take that, Noah.
You guys want a nickname for Will Johnson. I think Will Johnson's going to let his play do the talking and then let all the accolades and nicknames shower upon him.
Are you okay with that, Noah? Can we?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sub-Zero?
I'm a little upset with the Jahmyr Gibbs number change.
Honestly.
Oh, really? I thought the 26 was cool. Not a lot.
A lot of kids probably bought 26 jerseys.
Oh, there's a ton of them. Very sad.
Damon Cat, meow, $4.99. No more Damon. I never got my meow. I will now change my name to Noah Cat if he does. I think Noah would have no problem doing that, Damon Cat.
Meow.
Wow.
Meow, 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 meow.
No hesitation. Damon Cat jumping back in. Thank you so much for your contributions. $1.99. Do I go mess with Damon on the D-Box pod now? Yeah, go do it. They need it. They need all the support they can get. Damon Cat, go there, support Damon and Derek.
I'll tell you, it's like a proud father, right? You're playing catch with your son, or your kids do well at school. When I see Damon going after people on Twitter, it just makes my heart full. Yeah. I love it. I check Twitter too late at night, and then there's our guy quote tweeting with GIFs or memes going after fan bases, and I'm just so flipping proud of him. I can't say enough good things about
that. Your coffee mug and just.
That's right. I'm so proud of you, young man.
That's my teenage son Damon there.
That's authentic. That comes from right here. That comes from right here.
Oh man, you guys crushing it. As far as the chat goes, thank you for the super chats. Unbelievable day. Noah had a good time out there. I'm going to speak for him today that he was out there at the facility, just learning the ropes. I'm his mentor, I guess you would say, father figure, I guess, out there, and just teaching him everything he needs to know.
That's a little weird.
Yeah, I would not have been able to do it without Bo. That's
blink twice if you're in trouble.
Yeah, somebody he looks up to.
Blink, blink.
Yeah. Somebody he looks up to, probably when he does something important, he'll probably thank me in his speech, that kind of stuff.
Noah and I will carve our own relationship this fall when you're frauding it up at the stadium, and Noah and I are logging the hours, putting together the most premier pregame, halftime, and postgame show you have ever seen. But in the meantime, like and subscribe, friends. Those days, they're coming up quick. And be sure, if you're thinking about traveling to some premium games this fall, why not kick things off with our friends at Bird Gang Travel? Myself, Bo, we're going to be heading out to New Orleans. And can we announce this now? Is Noah coming with us too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool.
What's a trip to NOLA without Noah? Yeah.
We have
that's
to have
what's
a
going down.
producer. We need a producer.
True. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Somebody does have to produce the show. So, of course, my mentee is coming out with us. Going to continue to teach them about life on the road to open the season. So come meet Noah. I want somebody to go sign up today and just be like, I'm just going because I want to meet Noah, and tell Tyler and the Bird Gang Travel. That's why you're strictly going to New Orleans to hang out with our new producer.
I'm pretty cool.
He's a cool guy. It's just like, is
That's
Noah
the
going?
worst
Yeah, we have to have a producer. I'm so fired up. We're going to be joined by Tyler from Bird Gang Travel later this week. Now is the time. Get your tickets locked in, get your stay, get your travel. The best part about Bird Gang Travel, on top of their customer service, is like they do the heavy lifting for you. Like I know, like when I try to book trips with my wife, and it's just like it can be overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Hotels and Airbnbs and promo codes and discounts. It's like they take care of all that for you. So you show up, there's an itinerary, there are former players, there's giveaways, premier seats, not a premier price. Check it out right now, our friends at Bird Gang Travel. Big thanks to everybody here on a Football Tuesday. Continue the week with full coverage of OTAs and beyond. For Noah, Bo, I'm Johnny Venerable. Big thanks. Drop a like, drop a comment. It's PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.